Okay. We should theoretically be live. I think. Perhaps. Looks like it. Hey guys, and welcome back to another exciting episode of H-Bit Gaming. Tonight, we're going to be checking out the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, or the SNES, the SNES, however you pronounce it. I've always pronounced it SNES, or SNES. One or the other. I kind of flip back and forth between the two. So this is actually the first gaming system I ever owned. I got it as a Christmas present way back in the day. But I'll get back to that in a second. First things first. You may notice the fact that I'm actually alone tonight. Unfortunately, my co-host has personal stuff going on, so she wasn't able to join in. And this was actually supposed to be last week's Friday episode, but life has been crazy, so it is what it is. So let's just get into it. We're going to start it off with B.O.B. Bob. Hopefully that's not too loud. I don't think it should be. I have everything set up to the point where it should be okay. And we're actually starting off playing on actual Super Nintendo hardware, because I want to kind of showcase the difference in graphics between the original hardware and the Super Nintendo Classic, which most of the other games are going to be played on tonight after we're done with some of the retro... Some of the ones that I only have for the actual hardware that weren't on the NES Classic as ROMs. So this is one of the top the top voted games in our poll for tonight's episode. So we're gonna start off with this one. Check out a handful of other non-voted ones, just because once I switch over to the SNES Classic, I really don't want to have to switch back over to the original hardware, just because of technical whatnot. But that being said, we're gonna just dive right into it. So this game uses a password continuous system because it doesn't have the ability to actually save your data. So it just kind of starts you off at a further level based on whatever passcode you enter, like a lot of other games of the time that didn't want to rely on batteries for the save game data stuff. And each level has a time limit, so that's fun. But yeah, so this is being played on a Super Nintendo original hardware, not modded at all, but with an, oh yeah, you can change using that. Ow. Get out of here. What was I saying about... okay, the original hardware. It is, though, not using composite cables. It's using S-video for the output. So that'll probably help bump up the quality at least slightly, but still nowhere near as good as the HDMI output of the SNES Classic. But yeah, so the Super Nintendo was originally released in 1990 in Japan and South Korea as the Super Famicom for Japan and the Super Comboy in South Korea. It came out a year after the Sega Genesis. No. And it was like a direct competitor to the Sega Genesis. I remember seeing a lot of commercials when I was younger of the console wars between Sega and Nintendo, who were really going head to head the entire time I was growing up. And Nintendo obviously eventually won that war, but Sega did their best. They definitely had a lot of advertisements that tried to showcase what Sega do, what Nintendo don't. Ha ha ha. But, yeah. The Super Nintendo itself released in 1991 for the North America release. It was 1991, and it actually had a pretty decent lifespan. It wasn't discontinued in terms of production until, I think, 1999, if I remember correctly. So, not the longest lifespan, but pretty decent run. Especially considering the Nintendo 64 came out, I think, 95, if I remember correctly, 96. I could be wrong about that, though. I'll have to double check that at some point. But, so original prototypes of the Super Nintendo were actually planned to have a secondary slot for backwards compatibility with Famicom games and original Nintendo games. And there was actually originally a prototype that basically would have added on that secondary, almost like secondary console that would have, I guess, plugged into the actual Super Nintendo / Super Famicom, and would have allowed that secondary slot to be able to play that stuff. I don't know where I'm going in this stupid maze of a level. But, obviously that never really came to fruition. Man, certain levels in this game kind of rub me the wrong way. Especially because you have a limited time to try to finish them. So, like, if you don't know where you're going, you can die pretty quickly. Oh no. Oh, I'm gonna die. Oh no, stop. And I melted. I do like, specifically talking about this game now, I do like the abundance of different death animations for your character. What I don't like is when you die, even if you haven't gone to, like, the point where you have to continue, and you just lose a single life, you lose every item and every weapon upgrade that you've collected up to that point. So I currently now only have the starting gun and nothing else that I picked up in that other level, which, no. Why would you do that? Why? That's just no. No. I do not approve of that. Alright. Stop it, Mr. Crab. Alright, let's see if we can at least get through this level. I don't know how much more of this I'm gonna play because I do want to showcase a decent amount of other games. But I want to at least try to get through more than one level. This was an optional area, right? Yeah. With health and more ammo. Not the good kind of ammo, but ammo nonetheless. There we go. And Bob's your uncle. I guess that was a saying back then, more often than it was now. I have heard it before, but I haven't heard it in a long time, so I feel like it's an older saying. Another fun fact about the Super Nintendo is that the plastic it was made out of, that like classic gray plastic, there was a mess up in production where they started having to add fireproof or fire-safe chemicals to the plastic, and they didn't actually mix all of them together properly. Damn it. Damn it! No! Come on, there we go. Yeah, they didn't mix it all together, the proportions properly, so, I forgot those were heat sinking. Which is what those improper portions of the fire-safe chemical to the other chemicals in the plastic is what causes the plastic to, over time, get this yellowed kind of like, almost like a tan yellowed color, instead of staying that nice sleek gray, that pristine original color. And not every Super Nintendo is created equally in terms of that. So, for example, I've seen plenty of Super Nintendos that haven't yellowed at all, presumably because it was either before they added the fire safe chemical, or they actually got the proportions right on that run. Others I've seen completely go yellow, both top and bottom. Mine, on the other hand, that I still have from when I was younger, the bottom half is the normal old school gray, like when I first got it, whereas the top half of it is actually gotten that yellow coloration over time. So it's kind of like a hybrid. Oh no, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? There's no way to... Wow, that was a cool effect though. Yeah, I'm dead. I'm dead. There's no way to get out of this. Because I don't have the spring trampoline things that I used up all of them earlier. Anyways, okay, we got one more life, so I'll just keep rolling with this while I start trying to think of other facts that I know about the Super Nintendo. Actually, before I go into more facts, let's go back to the story of how this is my first ever system. I got it for Christmas when I was really young. I don't remember exactly how old I was when I first got it, but up to this point, all I'd really played in the past was the Atari. Damn it. The Atari, whenever I would go visit my grandpa, and nothing really other than that. So, when I unwrapped the Super Nintendo for the first time as a Christmas present, I remember I was so excited that all I wanted to do, I didn't even want to open up any of my other presents. All I wanted to do was immediately get the Super Nintendo set up and start playing it. And I remember it came with Super Mario World, which, actually, that works decently as a segue. I'm not going to play much of this because I also have it on the NES, the Super Nintendo Classic, but I'm going to jump right into this one real quick, and I'll start digging around with this because I do want to showcase exactly how different the graphics are compared to the original hardware, even with S-Video, and on the Super Nintendo Classic with the HDMI capabilities they've added into it. So... Oh, wow. I have not seen these save files in... I do not remember how many years, honestly. But I got pretty far on this first one, so let's just check out some of these later levels real quick and see how well I fare. Oh, God, it's gonna be horrible. Oh, man, this is not going to end well for me. Especially jumping right back into it. I'm going to try my best, though. Okay, well, let's get this one. Okay. Maybe not as bad as I thought, initially. Can I go in any of these? I can. Good. Oh. Free lives. Really? Really? I was robbed! I've been robbed! You stole my extra life! Wow, that was... Let's just say it could have ended better there. Yeah. So... Let's see, more fun facts about the Super Nintendo. It has, the original hardware, has a, an expansion port on the bottom of it that would have initially been used for all sorts of expansions, and in Japan it was actually it was used for some of them. So one of the original purposes of the expansion port was to basically allow you to oh no. Oh no! That was so close. I almost made it. It was originally supposed to connect add-ons such as the Nintendo PlayStation, which was very similar to their partnership with Philips that ended up in Philips making the CDI. But when both of those deals fell through, they were basically CD add-ons in the same vein as the Sega Genesis, the Sega CD attachment. But, so Nintendo partnered with both Sony and Philips, and both of those deals fell through, resulting in Philips releasing, their... it's really hard to try to platform and talk at the same time. Anyways, Philips released the CDI, which bombed, and Sony actually ended up releasing as the Sony PlayStation, which we all know how that turned out. So Sony definitely ended up doing pretty well out of that deal. But both of those were supposed to originally attach to the bottom expansion port. And another peripheral that originally was supposed to attach as well was the Satellaview? I think that's how you pronounce it. But basically, that was a Japan-only exclusive. It never made it over to North America or anywhere else other than Japan. Even though the service stayed active in Japan, I think, until 2000. How did I manage to land on that? But, so the service stayed active until 2000, but basically what the Satellaview allowed you to do was it allowed people to use special expansion carts. Oh no, 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 no. Special expansion carts to download games and DLC for current games they already had that you could store on those carts. As well as you had access to basically satellite radio, like live satellite radio shows, and you could even like browse online magazines and things like that. But the service itself was introduced, I think, 1995, and it ran until sometime in the 2000s, if I remember correctly. We're gonna move on to another game real quick. I'm gonna pop in Super Mario All-Stars, actually, I think is probably a good one, because we can also then compare the jump from these games on our NES episode to what the Super Nintendo hardware was able to do with those same exact games, and what kind of graphical upgrades there were, things like that. But speaking of online services for the Super Nintendo, the Satellaview was actually not the only available online service. At some point in the United States and North America in general, there was third-party software that was a cartridge, I think, that plugged into the top, that then also plugged into a dial-up, like a dial-up modem, and allowed you to actively play multiplayer games with other people online. I think that was really the first ever real-time online multiplayer, at least for consoles. I don't know, I think computer players and PC gamers may have had that access already, but I'm pretty sure that was the first time a console really had that capability. So even back then, Nintendo was really pushing the limits of what was possible with their system. And that was basically $10 a month, I think, plus then you had to pay the long-distance phone fees. But, I think the last real trivia I know about the whole online connectivity thing when it comes to Nintendo is, they also actually had a working prototype for a cartridge that would allow you to do online banking using your Super Nintendo system. Not even kidding. They basically... I don't know if it ever actually got released, but it would have come with its own special keyboard controller. Kind of like Mario Paint came with the Super Nintendo mouse add-on that you could plug in and use with it. But it was basically a controller that was like a keyboard, and it would allow you to use your Super Nintendo to do online banking, which is another one of those things that at the time, that's pretty impressive. Especially considering how limited a lot of online stuff was back then at that point still. But, already you can tell as well just how much these graphics have increased since the original Nintendo days. I think at this point it's still running in 240p. I don't think it's outputting in 480p, but it's still, like, the sprite work and just all the graphics, everything are way upgraded. The controls feel a lot smoother, I'm not gonna lie. And honestly, I feel like I enjoy using the Super Nintendo controller more than I do the original Nintendo controller. It's still... I don't know. I feel like it fits a little bit better in your hand because of the way that it's rounded. I like the addition of the extra buttons as well as the two triggers on the left and the right of it. Which I think this was the first system to really add those in. Because I know the Sega Genesis didn't have that. It had 3 buttons, but there were no trigger buttons on the top of it. And I think the Philips CDI was more keyboard-based, if I remember correctly, because they wanted to market it more as an actual like system than a console or something just for gaming. It was like a lot of the games were more supposed to be educational computer kind of titles, even though they eventually did release the because of the failed Nintendo deal, Nintendo did have to throw them a bone and basically be like, yeah, you can release a few games based off of our properties on your system, but we're not going to have any part in it. Which led to... Oh, man. That was close. Which led to things like the CDI Zelda games, Hotel Mario, Legend of Zelda, Wand of Gamelon, and... I think there were a few other ones that I don't remember the names of. There were, I think, like 3 of the Zelda games for CDI that were all absolute trash. And so that's the fun story about the Philips CDI and why it has Nintendo-ish games. Well, Nintendo franchise games, I guess, on it. Even if they're not really up to Nintendo standards. I'm surprised Nintendo actually let them release them, honestly. But I think it was primarily because they had to, because of the way that the deal went down. That even though they didn't use the Philips hardware as they initially had wanted to... Oh, damn. I believed, but I didn't believe enough to make it. But yeah, so the whole Nintendo PlayStation thing is kind of apropos as well, because that's going to be tomorrow's episode. We're going to be playing a bunch of PlayStation 1 games on my PlayStation 2. Because unfortunately I do not have an actual PlayStation, but I do have a PlayStation 2 that is backwards compatible with all of the PlayStation 1 games that I have. So, that'll be tomorrow, probably around 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, somewhere around there. And there should be a link to the poll for what games I should play for that in the description right now, which I believe ends tonight around 10 p.m., if I remember correctly. I think that's when I set it to end. But I might extend that just to be safe, since I got that out pretty late this week, unfortunately. But yeah, so that'll be tomorrow's episode. So make sure to tune in for that. Alright, I'm about to call it quits on this one and check out another one of the games on this cartridge before I check out probably... I got maybe one or two, well, definitely one more that I want to show off for the Super Nintendo, because I want to show off something specific in relation to that, but I'll get to that in a second. So one thing that really set the Super Nintendo apart as well from a lot of the competitors is its ability to do Mode 7, which basically, what that means, Sega Genesis had its whole blast processing, marketing, whatnot. Super Nintendo, the big draw was, oh, they do Mode 7, which is what allows for the backgrounds to move independently of the foreground like this, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that's what it basically relates to. But there's like 7 different modes that that the Super Nintendo had. 7 different video modes that it could output. And Mode 7 was one that was heralded as not being available anywhere else at the time. So that was one of their big selling points. So, now, flashback to our original Nintendo Entertainment System episode. As I said in that one, there is actually Super Mario Bros. 2, the one that originally was actually a reskin of a different game called Doki Doki Panic, was not the original Super Mario Bros. 2. It was released as the Lost Levels. This is the actual Super Mario Bros. 2 that Japan initially got. That they didn't want to release in America because they thought it was too difficult to really find a mainstream market over here. So, as you can see, this is definitely a much more cut and dry version. Like it's a very much more cut and dry not predecessor, that's the opposite of what I'm trying to say. Ow, stupid Goomba. I can't think of words tonight. Sorry guys. But yeah. Sequel. Let's just go with sequel. I forgot you can't pick up shells in this one. But yeah, very like next step sequel that makes a lot of sense in terms of what came before. It's basically the same game with a few other, like a few minor upgrades, like a few minor changes. You still can't move backwards. there's, I think, the only other power-up that's in this one that wasn't in the original Super Mario Bros. Is that poison mushroom that you guys saw at the beginning of the first level. Because the purple one, that if I were to touch that, that actually just basically poisons you and injures you down one level. But unlike with future titles, you still can't pick up shells. The level design, I think, is a little bit harder than the original one. Not by enough to really justify them not releasing it here, but I can definitely understand why they assumed it wouldn't do well. Especially considering that America still was kind of weary about video games after the whole video game crash. Like, Nintendo had brought back... Oh, what? Okay. Nintendo had definitely brought back the general goodwill towards video games a little bit, but it still didn't have as big of a market as it used to. Oh. I forgot how much momentum you keep going forward in this game compared to other future titles. Alright. Oh. That was too close. I can't believe that my nose was like touching that piranha plant. I can't believe that didn't hit me. Like the first one, there's definitely plenty of warp pipes and things like that to get. But yeah, another one of the big things that Nintendo really did. Everybody thinks that they only really started to innovate with their later systems, like with the Wii and with like motion controls and things like that, and that they've gotten more gimmicky over the years. But honestly, I don't see that. With Nintendo, I feel like they've been like that from the beginning. Like, first off, they had the Virtual Boy, which was, like, way back when was their first attempt at doing virtual reality, 3D type stuff. They had all this stuff that was pushing the limits of online connectability, downloadable content, things like that, even since the beginning. I think even since the NES, they had some of that stuff. Oh yeah, you can already see a huge difference in the graphics compared to the NES version of this game. That's absolutely ridiculous. Way more colors available in their palette. Everything plays way smoother too, honestly. Alright. But yeah, on top of pushing the limits of like online connectability and all those other things, they also had a whole slew of different peripherals. Like I've already mentioned the whole attempt at making a Sega CD type thing, which didn't really work out for the Super Nintendo. And they actually tried that again with the N64, but we'll get more into that with when we actually get to that episode. But for the Super Nintendo, they had all sorts of other peripherals, like for their golf games, they had, I forget what it was called. I think it was like TV Golf or something like that. That was basically a I don't think it was motion controlled. I think it was still based on switches and things, but it basically was like a golf club that allowed you to play your golf games as if you were actually golfing. Kind of like Wii Sports. They had another one of those for baseball games called Batter Up. They had, as mentioned before, the Super Nintendo mouse. They had the Super Nintendo multi-tap, which kind of like the PlayStation 2 multi-tap. It allowed you to basically play games with up to 4 people instead of the normal 2. And they had the Super Scope, which is basically their version of the Zapper from the NES. They had first-person shooter games like that would allow you to actually fire the gun at the TV screen and read. I'm pretty sure it was light-based, if I remember correctly, but it would basically read where you shot the screen and allow you to play those kind of games, like House of the Dead style games, at home, in the comfort of your own living room. Yeah, this is such a weird game. I love it, though. They had arcade pads that allowed you to basically emulate, like, for fighting games. It allowed you to have the same kind of joystick and multi-button setup of an arcade. And, there's way more that I can't even remember all of them. But, another huge one that was never very good, but oh man, they tried their best to try to sell it, was the Power Glove. The Nintendo Power Glove, which was actually motion controlled. It was a glove that you basically wore that allowed you to use motion controls that didn't really work that well as had all the buttons that are normally on the controller just on the side of the glove, though, that you would have to, like, press with... Oh, these guys. Yeah, these are the ones I talked about in the NES episode where they just... I don't know why. They just freaked me out as a kid. Because they're relentless. Maybe not that relentless. I don't know why I was so afraid of those guys when I was younger. But, I faced my fears, and I've come through on the other side. A stronger man. Let's see. Alright. I think that's enough of this game. Let's see how floaty Luigi is real quick first before... I think there's one more game on this. Yeah, he's still really floaty. I don't think... I think he still handles a little bit better than he did on the NES version. Oh, man. I'm trying to think of other random things I know about the Super Nintendo. I have to break another one, really? They actually had a cartridge called the Super Game Boy that allowed you to play Game Boy games on your Super Nintendo, right on your TV, on a big screen. And there was a Japanese exclusive version of the Super Game Boy, the Super Game Boy 2, that was basically the same exact thing. It allowed you to play Game Boy games on your TV screen with different colors, different borders, all sorts of other things like that. Very similar to the GameCube Game Boy player that plugged into the bottom of that system. But, oh, come on. There we go. But the only thing that that Game Boy player, the Super Game Boy 2 added was, it had an area that you could actually, use the Game Link cables for the Game Boys and play multiplayer. So you could connect to a second Game Boy in the same way that you would if you had a Game Link cable and 2 Game Boys. Just, you could have, basically, the Super Nintendo be one of those Game Boys instead. So, honestly, not a huge loss that it never came over to North America, but, it would have been kind of nice if it had. Alright, That's enough of that game. I think there's one more game on here that we'll check out real quick. Super Mario Bros. 3, released in 1990 originally. Oh yeah. That's the intro I remember to this game. Completely different from the NES game, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, okay. So this one, this game I have, what? Why did it send me back to the, I hit X and it sent me back to the, oh, really? Is that how you exit the games? I don't have to save and quit every time? I'm only learning this at the end? Cool. Well, anyways, battle game I can't play. That's the one that I had all the memories of playing as a kid with my sister. Actually, let me say screw it and plug in a second controller real quick, because I do have more than one controller. Why? Are you not recognizing the controller for some reason? Is that what's going on? Let me try another controller. I'm plugged into my headphones and I almost ripped them out by leaning over to grab the other controller. Okay, there we go. There we go. Plug that in. Yes? No? Maybe? Alright. Let's try resetting, and hopefully now it'll register the controller. Maybe you just have to start it up with the other controller plugged in. But yeah, so this is the game that I have all these memories of playing as a little kid with my sister, where we'd always start off, there we go. We'd always start off trying to work together to see how many levels we could get in without dying. And then eventually we'd always end up sabotaging each other by jumping on each other's heads like this, using plow blocks at inopportune times, stealing items, kicking things into each other, all that fun stuff. It always became a battle to the death between the two of us. Oh, I forgot about the booze too. I also have a lot of memories of playing this because for a while as a kid there weren't that many games that I owned. So after a while I ended up getting kind of bored with a lot of the ones that I owned because I'd played them so many times before. And I remember sitting there hanging upside down off of my couch trying to play the battle game and see how long I could survive, and play like other levels in this game, but like just hanging upside down on the couch to add that extra level of difficulty to things. Man, good memories. Okay. So yeah. Man, these colors and pixels, even though they've definitely aged. They've aged better than I think the NES graphics have, especially in terms of like how crisp they look and just how many different colors they're able to like meld together, but still do it in a harmonious way, unlike the Atari games that we had checked out a while back. Like, a lot of the Atari games had a lot of different colors, but they also were not very complimentary and ended up being very garish and eye-gouging at times. Almost epilepsy-inducing. It was... As much as I cherish my time with the Atari, especially because of the memories that it brings back, presentation-wise, I definitely gotta say Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo have aged better than a lot of the other retro game systems that I've experienced, at least. Alright, so that's enough of this one. Okay, I'm gonna play one more Super Nintendo game called Cybernator, because that's a decent one that I enjoyed playing a lot as a kid. I mean, you get to be a mech that blows things up. What's not to like? Konami. So another fun thing about the Super Nintendo is that in Japan, another Japan exclusive to the system for the Super Famicom, they actually had Nintendo Power kiosks that allowed you to download games directly onto flash-based, like flash memory-based Nintendo Power cartridges. And that service was actually available for a full 7 years after the Satellaview. And it was only discontinued in 2007. 2007! That's crazy. Crazy, I tell you. Man, the Super Nintendo, I think it still lives up a lot to today's standards. Like, even though, yes, its hardware is very limited, a lot of the games, so many of the games, honestly, have aged really well in terms of graphics as well as playability. And they definitely had a lot more story going for them at this point. Not everyone, but a lot more than a lot of the older systems did. Atari had a lot of, like, implied story, or story that you needed to read the manual to really know. Same with a lot of NES games. They kind of just plopped you in, or had very basic stories. But Super Nintendo, I think, is where... I could be wrong about this. There could be a lot of NES games that have more story than I'm giving them credit for. But Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis were, like, the real start of having fully fledged cinematic cutscenes and things like that. Captain, the ship will break into the enemy colony. Our goal is the battlecraft under construction there. After penetration, deploy the assault suits. Man, they ain't kidding about that penetration part. This is... Jake, I'm out of here. Captain, I'm getting energy readings from the bow of the enemy. Well, our ship, right in front of this ship. What? Are the beam guns firing already? Has the energy unit been connected? No, not yet. But there's no time. Roger, I'll destroy it. Versus retreat. Right, okay. Okay, so yeah, you can... Look at that! Destructible physics of the... Oh. Okay. So you can fly. You can aim your gun. You can dash. You can shield. Okay, that's how you switch between punching and ow. Right. Melee attacks are able to get through shields. Okay. You can kind of fly, you don't have too much time, and you start to overheat pretty quickly. Oh yeah, and power chips. Okay. I am probably gonna die pretty quickly in this. Right, if I remember correctly, the power chips basically will power up the whatever weapon you're holding currently when you pick them up. And for some reason, the power levels go in descending order. So my punch used to be 5, level 5 or whatever. Now it's level 4 because I powered it up. And 4 means it's got better abilities to destroy things, apparently. I don't know. I don't know why it's a countdown instead of a count up. Like, you think it would start at level 1 and then get higher. Come on, stop being so drifty. I do really like the music as well in a lot of the games for this system. They've just got such a classic chiptune kind of feel to them. It's got that very, very particular kind of sound to them. Alright, let's try and kill this guy. I think we're getting close to the end of this level, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I played this one, too. This is one that I actually never really played too much as a kid. I feel like I remember playing it at a friend's house, or maybe borrowing it from Blockbuster when I was younger. But I never had too much experience with it. But I had picked it up relatively recently and started playing through it again, and it's very fun. Very fun. I enjoy it a lot. Like I said, you get to be a mech and blow things up. What's not to like? I think you get better weapons over time, too. Alright. So after this one, I have one more game that I want to use the original software to show off. But let me get to the first boss of this first. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I think the power level thing. This is Jake. I have found the energy unit. Roger, destroy it. Immediately. That's an order. Oh, these guys. Right, so I think the way that the power levels work is it's actually a countdown until it powers up an entire level. So, currently, if I were to get 2 more of those power-ups, pickups, that's when this gun would actually level up to do more damage. I don't think it does more damage every single time you pick up one of those power levels. Condition green. Attach safely to Versus. Here, full speed ahead. And away we go. Enemy manufacturer of heavy artillery was very active. Ore mined from the moon was sent into satellite orbit, where it was processed. After destroying the enemy spaceship, we headed to the satellite orbit right with floating asteroids to destroy their ore processing facilities. All suits advance! Don't run into any roids! Jake, the general, course is plotted in the ship's computer, but use manual control to get past the asteroids. Don't worry about me. Right. Oh, man. Oh, man. 4 side-scrolling missions. I love them. They're my favorite. I love it, having to run into things and not being able to slow myself at all. Oh, I'm gonna die so quickly. That's fine. I'm basically done with showcasing this game anyway. I really should have worked on leveling up my gun more in the last level. You gotta be strategic about those kind of things. I've arrived at the checkpoint. Boosters away. Roger, advance with care. Alright, there we go. Oh, weird. So you press up to kind of float up, you press down to float down, as well as aiming. The shield is dangerously low. Yeah, whatever. I'll be... Ow. Well, I was right about to say I'll be fine. But then I wasn't. Look at those fancy state-of-the-art 3D graphics. That's certainly something else. Okay. So, for the next game and the last game that I'm going to be playing with the actual Super Nintendo hardware, before we switch it over to the SNES Classic, I am going to showcase exactly how you can actually play Super Famicom games on a North American Super Nintendo. Because, unlike the PAL region Super Nintendo systems, the North American ones, they hadn't implemented any form of, not really copyright protection, but any form of region locking at this point. So the only thing that stopped people from playing Super Famicom games, aside from the language barrier, which for a lot of games that doesn't really matter if it's not like RPG based or like really heavily story based, but the only thing keeping a lot of people from playing them on a North American system was access, language barrier, and the fact that the cartridges are shaped differently. But if you have the right tools to be able to either swap out the internal chipboard of the cartridge into a Super Nintendo North American style cartridge, or do some minor tweaks to your Super Nintendo system itself so that the cartridge, the Super Famicom cartridge, will fit into it, then you can actually play Super Famicom games right on the Super Nintendo. Unfortunately, the only one I own is Brandish, which is an RPG. Which, it's cool. I'm glad I own it. I just wish I knew more about what the heck they were saying to me, so I could actually play it. So this is my first time actually checking... What the heck? Oh, weird. So left and right actually changed the way that you are... the camera's facing. $300 gold. Nice. Nothing. Alright. I don't know how to play this. Oh boy. Alright, so you can... Okay, you can sidestep by holding down the right trigger button. Or the right shoulder button. I don't know what any of that means. It's probably locked or something. Huh. So A is shield, B is jump forward. I don't know what the X button really does. Stuff I can't read. So like I said, I'm not going to play too much of this one. I just kind of wanted to show off the fact that, yes, if you are a retro collector and you have a North American Super Nintendo system and you have Super Famicom games that you want to be able to play, or you just have specific Super Famicom games that you want to purchase, but you don't want to buy them because you won't be able to play them, you can play them as long as you have the right tools. You just gotta make sure that you can get it to fit in your system, and as long as it fits. Like, I swapped out the chipboard from the Brandish cartridge and put it into a Super Caesar's Palace Super Nintendo cartridge case, and it allows me to play fine. As fine as I can without understanding a lick of Japanese. But, yeah. So, that's about it for the Super Nintendo. At least on the original hardware. So next up, hopefully this won't be super difficult. I'm gonna try to boot up the Super Nintendo Classic. See if I can get this to work properly. Okay. Feel like this might be a little bit louder. Not entirely sure. Gotta resize that real quick so it's actually fills up the screen properly. Because we are no longer working with 480p or 480i. I guess everything was really interlaced at this point. Now we're going to should work, hopefully. Come on, baby. Come on. Oh, I dropped something. Hey, there we go. I think it might be a little bit lower than the Super Nintendo itself. So I am gonna bump up the volume slightly. See how that looks. I guess the first game we'll play is Super Mario World, just because that way we can compare and contrast to Super Mario World from earlier on the actual hardware, and then we'll go into the last 3 voted games of the night, because all of them are on here. I do think the settings are slightly wrong. I'm not going to really fiddle with it too much, though, because I don't want it to... Oh. Well, it looks like it just froze anyway, even though I didn't change anything. Come on. Alright, give me a second. I'm gonna the technical difficulties it up. I'll be right back once I've figured this out. Actually, there we go. There we go. That didn't take as long as I thought it would. Okay, so, as you can already see, definitely crisper looking. It's got the fancy background now because, you know, it does. One thing I will already say that I've noticed, compared to the original Super Nintendo controllers that I've been using up to this point, the plastic is not as smooth and doesn't feel quite as good as the original plastic for the Super Nintendo controllers. The buttons themselves... I mean, I don't feel much of a difference. I feel like the buttons are pretty spot on, but the... Oh, hey, it's Yoshi. The buttons are pretty spot on. The way that it handles is pretty spot on. The plastic and the general feel of... like the plastic, especially for the controller itself, not so much like the X, A, B, Y buttons, or or like the start and select pretty much feel the same, but it's really noticeable in the L and R shoulder buttons, as well as the controller casing itself, and the even the D-pad has a very rough texture compared to the smoothness of the original controller, which I gotta say, I prefer the original Super Nintendo controller a lot better, honestly. It's not a huge difference, but it's enough for me to prefer using it. Oh, come on. Eat the berry, Yoshi! There we go. So after this game, I think, since we're kind of on a theme, that should be enough of a comparison between this and the original hardware. So we're gonna swap over to another one of the voted for games, Yoshi's Island, which is Super Mario World 2, technically. Now this game, I always wanted as a kid. I borrowed it from Blockbuster a handful of times, and I remember there being like a haircut place for kids, like a kid's haircut place, that they had a Super Nintendo set up in the lobby for like kids that had to wait their turn to get their haircut, that I would always want to go to just so I could play this game. Because they had the Super Nintendo set up, they had this game, and I think they had a handful of other ones. But I always I wanted to get my haircut even when I didn't need a haircut, just so I could sit there and play this game, because I didn't own it. Oh man, simpler times, honestly. It's kind of funny to think about some of this stuff that I haven't really thought about in a while, but... Oh no. Baby got snatched. Right out of the beak of a stork. Into the darkness from whence it came. Second baby falls undetected towards... the open sea. Alright. Oh no! Meanwhile, here's Yoshi's Island, home to all Yoshis. There's the plural of Yoshis. It's a lovely day and Yoshi is taking a walk. Huh? Suddenly, a baby drops in onto his back. Baby seems to be fine. This is very fortunate. It's a lot more claymation looking than I remember it being originally. Alright. Man. It's been so long since I played this game. This paradise is Yoshi's Island, where all the Yoshis live. They are all in an uproar over the baby that fell from the sky. The baby Mario! It's his first appearance ever. Wait, the baby seems to know where he wants to go. The bond between the twins informs each of them where the other one is. The Yoshis decide to carry the baby to his destination via a relay system. Teamwork! Now begins a new adventure for the Yoshis and Baby Mario. Hooray! Let's do it! Look at all that Mode 7 scrolling fanciness. They definitely put it to good use in a lot of the games, too. Baby falls off of Yoshi's back. The countdown time will begin. When it reaches 0, Kamek's toadies will kidnap Baby Mario. The more stars you collect, the safer you are. Countdown timer, yeah, okay. Right, so you play as Yoshi this time. Trying to get Baby Mario back to his brother Luigi. Reunite them. So this is the first appearance of Yoshi's hover jump, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember if you could do that in the first Super Mario World. I don't think so, unless you had a special item or something. I think this is the first time you could really hold down B to, like, just do that, though. And I'm pretty sure it's been in every other Yoshi game ever since that, as one of the things you can do. Oh man, this music brings me back. Make eggs throw eggs. Ah, so good. Alright, cool. Right, and you can toggle a lock on by using the right trigger. Special flower. Gather 5 for a 1-up. They add to your point total. Also add flowers to the goal ring. One thing I will also say about Nintendo games is they always have the most unique soundtracks and sound effects. Like, the sound design in Nintendo games is often very on point and very unafraid to take chances and, like, try new things and push the limits. Kind of like Nintendo themselves. Like, they've always been really innovative as a company, and I can really respect that. I think you can get a maximum of 12 of those star thingies. Chomp Rock is a useful object. Bowl it over your enemies. If it gets stuck, stand on one edge and it'll start rolling. Right, you can get those. What does this do? I forget. Oh, I think I have to fire eggs into it, I think. Alright, let's grab some of these. Stop moving. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I gotta... Come on. Let's try this one last time. There we go. Oh, maybe it's 30, not 20. I think it's 30, that's the maximum you can get of the stars for when Baby Mario falls off your back. I do remember Baby Mario's cry being super obnoxious, though, when he did. I guess... I guess it's pretty good game design to, like, make your main characters, like, cry, be super obnoxious if you want the player to, like, really want to try to get it back as soon as you can. Come on, come on. There we go. Oh, nice. Oh, it's a sunflower. He's so happy looking. Wow, look at those eggs vibrate. There's that one up. Good. I forget what the red coins are specifically for in this game. I know in a lot of other Mario games, if you collect a certain amount, it usually gets you a star or something like that, but... 20 red coins. Hey, look at that. Hidden among the yellow ones. Add 1 point to your score. Okay, so it's only really if you're going for perfect scores. No! Grab Baby Mario. Jump or even use your tongue to grab him. Throw eggs at him. If the timer drops to 0, he'll be kidnapped. Come back here. Yeah, that's the crying that I had nightmares about as a kid. Not actual nightmares, but oh my god, is it annoying. No, come back. Stop. There we go. Okay, replenish some of those. Okay. Yay, I made it! Passed Baby Mario off to a different Yoshi. Alright, I missed 4 coins and I missed 8 stars. That's fine. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not trying to complete it. I think you do get bonuses for if you 100% every single... Wow, I forgot exactly how many levels there were, because this is only the first area, I'm pretty sure. Alright, I'll play one more level of this, and then I guess I'll move on to... Ah! Where'd it go? Oh. I forgot about that. Ah! Oh! Oh yeah, you can ground pound. No! That almost screwed me over! Come on. Alright, ground pound these. No, Baby Mario, come back! Baby, come back! Baby, come back! Middle ring for this level. Continue from here. Yep. Eggs. Right, and you can use them to collect all sorts of stuff. Come on! Oh, come on. There's one left. There we go. There's a secret over this way, if I remember correctly. Oh, come on. Yoshi definitely runs a little bit quicker than Mario does in the other games. Alright. How do I get up there? It's interesting how it pauses whenever it switches between being in here. I guess it has to take a second to load in all the tunnels and stuff. Now, if I remember correctly, you, as Yoshi, you can actually transform into different, like, different types of vehicles in this game, too. This is very odd. I'm pretty sure you can, like, become a helicopter and yeah, there it is. Yeah, helicopter bubble. That's right. Those things, they're so cute. Probably deadly. Vroom, vroom, vroom. We can turn back into normal Yoshi. I forgot you can flutter multiple times before you land and hit the ground. Other games, I'm pretty sure it's, can only flutter the one time, and then once you run out, that's it. Nope, eat him. There we go. That was close. Well, I missed a bunch of stuff because I was helicopter Yoshi, but oh well. Oh, bonus challenge. I get to show that off too. Good. Coins, flowers, yeah. Alright, what's this bonus challenge? Scratch and mash. I think there's multiple different bonus challenges and it picks one at random. But, scratch 3 boxes, uncover Mario's gain 1-ups, scratch on! Get up to 5 1-ups, interesting. Well, we're off to a good start. Wow! Not even a single Mario. Ah, mamma mia. It's what I call a spicy meatball. Alright. Well, that's about it for Yoshi's Island. The game that I'm currently playing. I guess next... I definitely still enjoy that game a lot. I can see why younger me was so obsessed with trying to go and play it at the haircut place. The other place I used to always used to bug my parents to take me when I was younger, and I didn't have that many systems, was Best Buy, or I don't think Sam's Club really did it. Yeah, I think it was pretty much just Best Buy that had the system set up so you could play the newer games, and like I remember, I feel like that was mostly for like the GameCube. Before I actually had the GameCube, I still had the N64, and I'd always bug my parents to bring me with them whenever they would go to like Sam's Club, because right in that same shopping center mall thing was a Best Buy right next door, or right nearby at least, and they'd always have the GameCube and the Xbox set up. That I think it was the Xbox 360 at that point. They'd have the multiple different areas set up with like all the demo games and things like that, so I'd always want to go and basically just waste my time and play all those. So, they also have Star Fox 2 on the Super Nintendo Classic, which I am going to check out at some point tonight. This is actually an unreleased game that only got its initial release on the Super Nintendo Classic. It had been worked on and was basically finished before the Super Nintendo basically was at the point where they didn't release it because they didn't think anybody would really buy it because everybody was already moved on to the N64 and other later systems at that point. So it never really got a fair shake. But I'm glad they decided to include it with the games on the Super Nintendo Classic. But first, before we get to that, I guess let's do Super Mario Kart. Because that was another voted for game. Probably gonna go a little longer than I normally do with these. Because since I'm doing it solo, I might as well jam-pack it full of whatever I can. As many games as I can, especially because I don't have no life. I don't have nowhere to be. I'm gonna spend some time and relive my old memories. Super Mario Kart is one of those games that I only relatively recently really played. The first Super Mario Kart game that I ever played was Mario Kart 64. And so I don't really have as many memories. 64 was the first system I really played any Mario Kart games on. But this one, because yeah, let's give it a good old classic try. See if I remember how to play. Alright. Oh, come on, Peach! Okay, A button use... Oh, man, I cannot control Yoshi at all tonight. Wow! I am... Oh, man. This is off to a good start. So drifting isn't as much of a thing in this game as in later ones. Like, you can still drift a little bit. Also, the laps are inconsistent across races, where I think that only really happens in later games with specific courses, like oh damn, what is it called? I think it's the Baby Mario level on one of the newer ones. That's like that, where it's like 8 laps because it's so short. It's just a really small oval. So, oh, wow. Well, I guess that's a sign that I gotta get good. I have 3 lives to retry. Alright. Let's go fast and furious on their asses. Come on. Let's do this. I don't remember if coins actually speed you up in this game like they do in later games. I feel like they do. Like, I feel like, why else would they put those in there if they didn't? Alright, already doing a little bit better. Not much, but a little bit. Yeah, take that, Koopa! Who's in first place now? That's what I thought. Oh, come on. I forget if you can throw stuff behind you. Nope. I don't think you can, because you can't even hold items out behind you. You just automatically use them. Oh, yeah. Okay, you can throw stuff out behind you. You just can't hold items behind you to try to dodge incoming attacks, like in the later games. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention about the Super Game Boy, which was the cartridge attachment. Oh yeah. Already making a comeback. I do love the music on this game too. But yeah, so a fun thing about the Game Boy, the Super Game Boy, it was a cartridge that allowed you to plug your Game Boy cartridge into it. I don't think I mentioned this earlier. I think I got sidetracked before I got a chance to. But basically, you would assume that the Super Nintendo would be able to have enough power to play a Game Boy game by itself. But that's not actually the case. The reason the Super Game Boy cartridge was so big, because it's a lot larger and taller than a normal Super Nintendo game cartridge. The reason for that is because it actually had pretty much all the internals. Oh no! That's what happens when I try to talk and race at the same time. Pretty much had all the necessary internals of a Game Boy to allow the Super Nintendo to emulate those Game Boy games on them, like on the hardware, because otherwise the Super Nintendo would not have been powerful enough to run the emulation it needed to play the Game Boy games. Which that's kind of crazy to me, like that for a system as powerful as the Super Nintendo was, that it wasn't able to handle something as simple as Game Boy games, which really shouldn't have been too much of a issue for it, really, if you think about how limited those are in terms of graphics and not so much gameplay necessarily, but like, it doesn't seem like it should be that difficult of a task for the Super Nintendo, but sometimes life's funny that way. Alright, final lap. And I got myself more coins. Come on. Go faster. Go faster. Almost made that turn wrong. Wow. That was a way closer race than I was comfortable with. Oh, man. I'm surprised you can't really skip through that stuff, though. In the newer games, you can. It's not like it's a CD-based thing where we needed time to load the next level or anything either. It's cartridge-based, which has a lot quicker random access memory and stuff like that, so it can load up everything it needs a lot quicker. But oh, come on! I just hit myself with my own banana. Either that or Donkey Kong spun me out, and it looked like I hit my own banana. Oh, are you kidding me? There's a reason nobody likes the ghost house levels on pretty much any of the Mario Kart games. Walls like those are why. What hit me? What even was that? Are you kidding me? I jumped at the wrong time, so I fell into the hole. And to my doom. Ah, Nani! Oh no. then perish. Come on. Come on, Mario. You get back here. Oh, I should have saved that mushroom. No! Well, I have 1 life to live now. I think I've got 1 life to live. Yep. Alright, let's try this again. I gotta just get into first and stay there for the whole race. That's what I gotta do. So yeah, there should be a way to... oh, right. There's like a different item that's not in any of the other Mario Kart games. That's like a feather that allows you to jump. Kind of like the feather in Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. There's a feather in that game that has the same exact functionality. It lets you jump over small gaps and stuff. I think that's what you need to be able to get across that shortcut. I don't think a mushroom itself would work properly because there's no ramp, so you just kind of fall. But, I don't know, I'm not going to chance it since I'm actually in first. And also because I don't have a mushroom. Come on, come on. Oh, I almost hit it. Hi, Toad. Am I really gonna lap you? Oh, I am! Haha, I just lapped Toad! Oh, that's such an improvement over the last race where I got 7th. So some of the characters in this definitely look a little derpy, but it's nothing compared to like some of the old school sprite work for the Pokemon games. Now that's an example of the way that like things have changed incredibly. The original Pokemon Red and Blue, because not only were they for Game Boy Color, so the graphics were already a little bit limited, one might say. But actually, were they for the Game Boy Color? I think they were just for the original Game Boy. I think they worked on the Game Boy Color, but I'm pretty sure they were just Game Boy games. I'm not entirely sure about that though. It's been a while since I've actually looked into that. Because I know they had color schemes, but a lot of Game Boy games had like basic color schemes if you played them on a Game Boy Color, even if they weren't necessarily made for Game Boy Color. And with the original Pokemon Red and Blue, you could also change the color schemes if you held like up and A or up and B or down, like different directions on the control pads when you were starting up the game. Pretty much any original Game Boy game that you played on a Game Boy Color or a Game Boy Advance allowed you to do that, where you could pick and choose different color schemes for the game, since it didn't have its own color palette pre-built in. So that's a little fun fact about the Game Boy system that I unfortunately will not really be playing for this project. Primarily because I don't have either a Super Game Boy or a Game Boy player for the GameCube. As much as I wish I did, I'm hoping to eventually get one of the... Oh, come on, come on! No, 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 no! It was going so well! Get out of here, Peach! Come back here, Donkey Kong! You stupid monkey. Alright, whatever. I got third. It's fine. At least I got in the top 4. It's okay. I don't gotta worry about it. Anyways, I really want to get a Game Boy Player for my GameCube. But the problem is, the Game Boy Player attachment itself is not that expensive. It's the disc loader that comes with it. Or that originally came with it. Oh yeah, I forgot the cups are more than just the standard 4 races like in the new games. It always throws me off about this one. But yeah, the discs are what are expensive for the Game Boy Player. I feel like it would probably be cheaper to get a Super Game Boy, but I think that only works with Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, and not Game Boy Advance, like the GameCube Game Boy Player does. So if I were to get one, I'd want that one ideally, but, you know, I wouldn't mind having both, honestly. It's just a matter of money and finding a good working version. Oh, come on. One thing I will be able to show off in the Nintendo 64 episode is I have Pokemon Stadium for Nintendo 64, and I have a transfer pack, which will allow me to at least play my copy of Pokemon Red or Pokemon Yellow on the Nintendo 64 using the transfer pack. So I'll be able to show off a little bit of Game Boy play action, but most of the games I have are not compatible with anything I have for a system that I'd actually be able to capture and live stream, because none of the Game Boys I have that capability. So they don't have a video out plug. So it is what it is. As much as I'd like to, that's gonna have to be a future thing. Alright, let's see where my standing is. I hope those last 2 didn't drop me down enough that... Okay, good. I still finished in first place overall. Oh, wait, what? No! Yeah, how did it get stolen from me? I call shenanigans on that. I thought I was in first place. Also, Donkey Kong looks weird in this one. Why does he have a V on his chest? Is that like an older model for him? Huh. Or a different Donkey Kong. I know in some of the older Nintendo games, it's like Donkey Kong Jr. was used for a lot of the Donkey Kong models. Alright, so, with Super Mario Kart done, just gonna go ahead and say it right now. A little bit of a spoiler for the end of this stream, when I do my top 3. But this, right here, Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars, one of my top favorite games of all time. Not just including Super Nintendo, of all time. Even with, like, the newer systems factored in. So I definitely gotta showcase at least a little bit of that. It's an RPG, so I can't really get through much of it. But, Earthbound is another RPG I've played a little bit of. I never really got a chance to play through completely. I always wanted to, but apparently it never really sold well in North America, and later on became a bit of a cult classic, and it is super rare to try to find the actual, like, any actual copies of cartridges that are North American releases now, because it sold so poorly. But, like, it's heralded as one of the best RPGs of all time as well. So at some point I definitely want to try to play through the entire thing, but I don't think I'm going to really showcase it tonight. The last voted for game of tonight is Kirby's Superstar, which has 8 games in 1. look at those graphics, man. I forgot how well the Super Nintendo did, like, semi-3D or pseudo-3D graphics. Because most of the stuff I played, and most of the stuff that came out for it were, in general, 2D. But they had a lot of, like, the 2.5D and a lot of, like, the fake 3D kind of vector graphics and things like that, they look pretty sleek, especially for the time and for the technology that's available. Alright, let's let the adventure begin. 1995 and 96. I love the Kirby music. That's another classic music soundtrack. Spring Breeze Gourmet Race, Kirby vs. King Dedede. I can't even read that. Ghost Offensive? I think that's Ghost Offensive. Dynablade, Revenge of Meta Knight, and Milky Way Wishes, which are both locked. And there's also Megaton Punch. Let's try out Gourmet Race first. Race through Gourmet World to the finish, gobbling up all the tasty treats you can find. Your first time playing Gourmet Race? Yeah, it is. Kirby and King Dedede race through the obstacle course to the finish. Kirby must eat more food and reach the goal before King Dedede. There are no enemies to fight. Try to get the highest score. Increase your skill level and become the champion. Wow, he already is demolishing me. Holy crap. What? No! Do I just have to walk into them? I think so. Come on, Kirby, run faster! Oh, I can double tap to run. Oh! Now that I know that. Now that I know I don't have to actually, like, stop to eat each of them, I can just run through them. Because before I thought you had to actually, like, suck them up, like, with enemies for Kirby. Come on. Oh no! Are you kidding me? How are you supposed to win this? Why? Need to stop missing things. Oh, are you kidding me? You won by one! What? Ah, no! Oh no! Come on! Go faster, Kirby! Whatever. Get the eggs! Get the eggs, Kirby! Kirby! Oh no! Haha! Stole the pancakes right from underneath you. Okay, come on. I got this. I got this time. Come on. Go faster, Kirby. Come on, Kirby. You got this, little pink puffball. Do me proud, Kirby. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Fly faster! Fly faster! No, get the flame first! Finally, I won one. Wow. That was kind of pathetic. Why is he pinching Kirby's cheek? Technically, does Kirby even have a cheek? He's just round. I guess he kind of does. I don't know. The anatomy of Kirby is very confusing. Right, let's try Megaton Punch and see what this is. I'm assuming it's another mini-game sort of thing. There's 3 levels. Let's start with the first. Wow, okay. First off, they're both adorable. Second off, I need to do better. Oh. Okay. Alright, I see how it is. Waddle Dee's over here breaking the entire Earth, and I'm just, like, barely breaking through the first one. Wow, something about this timing is just not... Alright, I think what I have to do... I think what I have to do is I have to wait until it's, like, flashing completely full. Almost. Oh, I'm dumb. I thought they had to be, like, directly on top of each other, like, above each other, vertically. But no, you have to wait until they, like, match up in the middle. There we go. Okay, that makes so much more sense. It's okay, Kirby, don't be intimidated. We got this. Yeah! Almost broke the world in half. I don't know what the MT stands for. Is that meters or megatons? I assume it would probably be megatons. So close. So close. That was the only one I got on dead on. Enough to win? Yes. Good. Okay. I'm redeeming myself a little bit here. Alright. Well... that's enough of that one. Samurai Kirby. Gotta push button immediately when I see exclamation mark. I could start on beginner, but screw it. I'm gonna go straight to expert. Ho ho! Ha ha ha! And no, wheelie got me. I'm roadkill. I have 1 straight wins. Alright, let's try that one more time. We'll play the actual, like, Kirby game. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play all of them, but... wow. I don't understand how I won the first match that I ever tried. Beginner's luck, I guess. Alright, that's enough of Samurai Kirby. Let's play Spring Breeze, I guess. Help, all the food from Dreamland has been stolen. Hurry, Kirby, or everyone will starve. Alright, actually, let's check out the other ones, too. Level 3. Dynablade is destroying all the crops. She must be stopped. Master the different abilities and defeat her. Get through the deadly cave while collecting hidden treasures. The Great Cave Offensive. Okay, yeah, let's do Spring Breeze. That's obviously where they had wanted us to start, but I'm a rebel. It's your first time playing? Yeah, kind of. There's so many Kirbys in the audience. It's awesome. Okay, first time players, here's how we play. This is the controller, you don't say. It's that gray thing with the purple buttons. You don't say! This is Kirby, our hero. He's a jolly fellow, even though he looks very angry right now. Move Kirby left and right by pressing that, yep. You won't accomplish anything just sitting there. When you see a door, you push up on the control pad to enter it. How to jump? Oh, it's a B button. Wow, you don't say. Okay. Food restores energy. Food up in the sky. You can fly up. Push B while it's in the air. I like that control scheme a lot better than the original Kirby game we played on the NES episode, where you had to jump and then press up on the control pad repeatedly instead of pressing the jump button repeatedly. It works and feels a lot better to just continue pressing jump instead of up on the D-pad after you jump the first time. Alright, yep. You take damage when you get hit by an enemy. It's okay to jump over them, but you might want to defeat them instead. Yeah, I get that. I know how to play Kirby games. This ain't my first rodeo. It's maybe the first time I played this one in particular. But this ain't my first rodeo. I've got the beam. I don't remember how to get rid of... Oh. Oh, that's right! I forgot you could have friends. I just ate that poor bird. That poor bird. Yeah, boy. I've got the cutter ability and I've got my friend. Oh, they're so cute. Everything in this game's so cute. And all the... Oh, wow. Okay. So you have, like, combos? I forgot how fun these games were. Oh, man. It feels so nice to, like... Sir Kibble. Okay, I got it. What is that? There's a bear with a karate head thing on it. Kind of reminds me of that TV show We Bare Bears. I don't know why. I haven't even really watched that show that much. I just... Art style-wise, it kind of reminded me of it. Nothing special out there. Why is my friend doing all those dances downstairs? Okay. That was cool. I just shared health with my helper. Looked like I was kissing him. Getting a big old smooch. Yeah, what about that tree? How do you like those bombs right in your mouth? Oh, not very much, I guess. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you cry. I feel like a jerk now. Oh. Apparently Kirby can clone himself. I actually heard a theory that Kirby is actually like a cell, which is why he's all squishy and like he can clone himself like that and other things. I was trying to eat him! Oh, you can't eat things underwater anymore? I mean, I guess it makes sense, but, still kind of weird to me. You just kind of throw water at things. Alright. Is that a hidden door? I spy! Ooh, it is. And explosive coconuts. Don't know how that works, but okay. Nice. I'm icy! I'm so cool! And that's my super duper... That was quick! Oh, are these characters from Bubble? Or what was that other game that was similar to Bubble? They certainly seem like it. My helper is very dramatic when he dies. There we go. That was not that bad. Pretty easy. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Cool. Bubbly clouds. Alright, I should probably call the stream soon. Especially now that I've gotten to all of the different games. That were voted on. And I'm dead. Oh, my helper dies too? I mean, I can kind of understand that, but wow. That kind of sucks. I also like how Kirby kind of looks like Link when, like he's got the Link hat whenever he gets the sword thing. Ow. Oh, the cannon shot me while I was like standing on top of it. Cool. I like that. Oh, does it, Campbell? Barely. I got the mirror move. Kinda cool. Certain moves seem to only have like one way of using them. Other moves seem to have multiples. Like the ice one has a different attack based on if you're in the air when you're doing it. Why are there just chickens as enemies? Beam, you can like charge up, kind of like a Mega Man Buster move. I've got the mic move. Oh, interesting. I forgot about that! Oh, man. This game is awesome. Man, the sprite work on this game is amazing, too. Well, I died again. Alright, let's try to get through this area real quick. Oh, that's right, you can dash, too. I forgot about that. So the microphone one is special in that you can't use it to call a helper, and you only get to use it 3 times. And it takes 2 to kill him. Ow. Ow! Stop it, Mr. Cloud. You're not very nice. Ow. Oh no! I'm almost dead. Get up, Kirby. Oh no! I figured out how to do a different attack though. So there's that at least. Stone. I can turn into a rock. Oh, I smushed that poor bear. Wow, that does a lot of damage. Oh, come on. No! No, no, no! Get the stone again. Get the... Alright, do that. No! Oh, it was so close. Alright, so if you double tap and run, basically... It does that, which I don't know exactly how much damage that does. Wow, my helper just completely demolished that boss for me. Thanks, Waddle Dee, or Waddle Doo. You weird-looking Cyclops. Last stage, huh? Mount DDD. I guess at this point I might as well just try to finish up this stage real quick. Okay. Ah! Alright, this is pretty easy. You just keep on spamming him with your beam attack and... Is that really it? I guess they called it Spring Breeze for a reason. It was very mellow in terms of difficulty. Whoa! Okay! Not gonna lie, I did not expect that ending. Hopefully the volume is at a decent level. I think it should be okay. But, I'll double check on that after the stream's done, and if not, I'll make sure that tomorrow's stream is balanced a little bit better. So, we basically become a hot air balloon and stole King DDD's castle. To bring back all the food. Okay. So all sorts of yummy food falling from the sky. Hot dogs, corn, grapes, strawberries that are huge. Strawberries that are the size of entire bunches of grapes. Unless it's perspective and they're just in the front. And hot dogs, I already said those. Ice cream cones, other ice cream popsicle bars. Okay, well, that was Kirby Superstar. I actually really enjoyed that. Very fun, handles very well. Plenty of games. Even though it says 8 games in one, some of them are kind of more mini games than actual games, but honestly, I can't really fault it too much for that. The size of storage on the cartridges were not the best at the time, so... alright, I am a little bit past 2 hours. I think... There's so many games that I want to play, but I don't have too much time left, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna showcase Star Fox 2 a little bit, and then I'll finish up with a little bit of Super Mario RPG, and then I can move on to talking about my top 3 games. So even though this technically is a Super Nintendo game, it was never really released until they released the Super Nintendo Classic. Because at that point, the point that they would have released this one, they were already working on or releasing Star Fox 64. So I guess they felt it kind of paled in comparison. And honestly, yeah, I can appreciate the 3D graphics for what they are due to the time period. But yeah, compared to the N64, they're very limited in terms of how they had to, what they had to work with. A decent amount of slowdown even on this system. And yeah, it's pretty impressive graphically for the time being. But compared to what 3D graphics eventually became, especially with N64 and PlayStation 2 kind of taking over. Okay. Battle carriers of attack forces of Andros are now advancing on Corneria. Enemy bases have been established on overrun planets. Planetary missiles will be fired from these enemy bases. Once again, we must ask you for your assistance, Star Fox. Corneria will survive if it sustains minor damage, but if damage reaches 100%, it's all over. Okay. Right, so in the first Star Fox game for Super Nintendo, it's very much like you just go from level to level, and there's multiple paths through, but you don't really have to worry about anything aside from that. With this game, there's a lot more, not really tower defense, but there's a lot more strategy involved, where you have multiple pilots, and you can choose which ones you bring with you. So, who should be my wingman? They each have their own specific items. I forget what the S does. Different speeds, different amounts of shields, etc. So all that you have to take into account.
Good luck.
Wow. Oh, that voice acting.
Good luck.
Yeah, the sound card of the Super Nintendo is still pretty limited in terms of what it could do when it comes to actually, like, emulating voices and things like that. Even the Nintendo 64 was kind of limited in terms of that because it was still cartridge-based. The PlayStation 2, and I think the Dreamcast as well, and even the GameCube had a much better ability to have higher fidelity sound effects and music and voices. Alright, so there's enemy fighters there, there's the carrier here, there's an enemy base here. Right, okay. Oh yeah, then the missiles. Oh yeah, look at those 3D polygon graphics. I don't know why I said polygon so weirdly. Another escaping. I'm trying to go for him. Hold on. Come on. Wow, this is... Hit by a planetary missile. Good. Is that a bad guy? Alright, there we go. Killed one of them. There's 3 more. Oh, stop shooting me. There we go, 2. Aw. I killed 2 of them, and most of my shields are dead. I'm not very good at this. Might have been smarter to go for the first game to at least get used to the way that they handle a little bit more. But it'll be fine. Oh, hey there. Come on, there we go. Alright. Satellite defense platform protects Canaria. Alright, I guess I should power up my shields. I can warp to the Meteor, Fortuna, Macbeth, and Eladard. Guess let's go to the Meteor. Oh, I forgot the mothership warps with you. There we go. Pretty deep gameplay. I do feel like if this was released it probably could have done pretty well. Oh. Space Dragon. I feel like it's a shame it wasn't released. I'm like originally for the hardware that they had originally planned for, but I'm glad it got some form of release at least. Mirage Dragon, huh? I don't remember how you slow down. There we go. That was actually pretty easy. Okay. So I think you guys get the gist of this game. You know what? Screw it. Let's go for the carrier before getting sidetracked by these jerks. Oh, come on. Okay, it's the barrel roll. Come on. There we go. Alright, I'm getting the hang of the dogfighting a little bit more, too, as I continue to play. I could see myself playing this a lot as a kid if it had been released back then. Hell, I could see myself playing this a decent amount now, honestly. I think it's aged pretty well. Alright. Oh yeah, that was the other thing they added into here. If I remember correctly, there's a way to... Oh, did not mean to use that. Alright. That's the other thing they added, was the walker form for the ship. Which I think they also added in Star Fox 64. But I'm not completely sure. I'm pretty sure it wasn't in the original Star Fox for Super Nintendo. There's a lot of slowdown, though. Definitely tell this wasn't exactly completely optimized. Alright, it's weird to me. So left and right are strafe instead of the L and R shoulder buttons like I would have expected. L and R shoulder buttons are how you turn yourself. Alright! Destroyed the core. Time to get out of here like the Death Star. Not quite as big or intimidating as the Death Star, but, hey, at least we destroyed the carrier and all the fighters aboard. Killed probably hundreds of people. What's this? Oh, there's a single fighter left over. I guess we'll finish them up and then we'll, move on to the last game of the night. Leon of the Star Wolf Wing is now here. Captain Wolf has ordered me to crush you. Okay. Oh man, I'm glad I used that that special bomb when I did, because he was getting close to killing me. Recharge that mothership, yeah, no. Alright, and select is how you switch between the two pilots. Okay. Well, overall, pretty good. I enjoyed it. I think I definitely need to play through all of this at some point, but it's not happening tonight in one night. Alright. Yep. So there's a lot of other games I could check out, like Mega Man X. It's a classic. I want to check that out at some point again, but for tonight, I'm gonna go ahead and bring it home with my favorite Super Nintendo game. Definitely one of the top video games of all time for me, at least, in my personal opinion. And one of, if not the very first RPG I ever played as a kid. I think I played this even before Pokemon. So, well, definitely before Pokemon. But I think I may have technically played an RPG on Game Boy before I played this one. It was a Final Fantasy something or other. Final Fantasy Legends? Final Fantasy Adventure? Final Fantasy Adventure. Let me see. Also, this game has some of my all-time favorite music out of any Mario game, and pretty much most RPGs. I'm actually going to bump the volume on that up slightly. Yeah, I think it was Final Fantasy Adventure for the original Game Boy. I think that might be the first one I played. I'm pretty sure that's technically the first RPG I ever played, but the first RPG I ever played and beat completely is this one right here. This was the first role-playing game that I could ever really get into long enough to completely finish. Ah, Gino. How have you not been added to Smash Bros. Yet? I think it's because this was a joint effort between Squaresoft, back before it was Square Enix, and Nintendo. So some of the characters Nintendo doesn't have the rights to, and they can't add them, which is why he hasn't really shown up in any other games. But yes, you actually get to have Bowser on your team as well at some point. You get to have Mallow, Geno, which are exclusive to this game. Princess Peach joins you at one point. It's got this really interesting isometric 2.5D kind of scheme to it, and honestly, I think the graphics work really well. And I think, again, I think this is aged really well. Like, this is a game that I still go back to and play from time to time. So let's get through the intro at least, and then after that, cool. I am Meatball. I'm a very spicy meatball. Okay. But yeah, this game has just such a unique graphical style. And the entire soundtrack is amazing. I also think it's got a really good sense of humor and very, very, very well written. There's really good storyline too. Honestly, I think I prefer this even to the original Paper Mario or Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Like, as much as I love the Paper Mario series, at least the first two, I'm not really super crazy about the versions for the Wii or the 3DS, Sticker Star, Color Splash, etc. But Paper Mario for N64 and Paper Mario Thousand Year Door were both really good. But this, hands down, is my favorite Mario RPG. And out of all the RPGs I've played, and I've played a decent amount, probably my favorite RPG as well. This was the first Mario RPG that really started the whole idea of timed button presses mid-battle to make turn-based battles not be as static. So if you time it correctly, this is just a normal attack. But if I press A at the right time, he'll do the second punch. You can defend the same way. I like the amount of effort that went into a lot of the various weapon animations, because as you go through the game, you do get different weapons that each have their own specific battle animations and battle combos and things like that. The special attacks get pretty ridiculous over time as well. Yeah, man, this game is just... Oh, man. Brings back so many memories. I remember renting this from Blockbuster multiple times because I hadn't beaten it, so I had to keep renting it over and over again until I got to the point where I did. And eventually I finally bought it for myself. So I do have an actual cartridge copy, and I'm actually really glad it was also included on the Super Nintendo Classic. Don't let Bowser bruise you, Mario.
Mario, prepare yourself for the great beyond.
Oh, yeah, right, okay. I remember. I gotta attack the Kinklink.
Mario, the chain! Aim for the chain!
I'm already working on it. Stop yelling at me. There we go.
What was that sound? No! It's a chain reaction!
Ha 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 ha.
Hang on, Kinklink! Yeah! Coming, Mario!
Fight, Mario!
Fight!
Why not just jump and grab onto the chain?
This should finish you!
Oh no!
Did you think I was just gonna give her to you? You're always in my way. This is it. I'm gonna take you out, Mario. Fungi, foiled again!
There we go. Oh, Mario! You had me so worried. Let's get out of here. Shriek! Mario, I'm gonna fall! Oof, a little high-pitched for what I can do tonight. A little bit under the weather. Ah, yes. A giant sword pierces through the star road that lies above the Mushroom Kingdom, scattering the 7 stars across the land. And landing in Bowser's Keep. One thing I love about this game, too, is even though Mario is, as most other games, a completely silent protagonist, aside from, like, wahoo! And, like, random snippet sound effects like that, his character is so well developed through his reactions and, like, the physical comedy that you don't really notice it that much. Like, they just do a really good job at playing off that trope of Mario not really saying anything substantial to any of the other characters and still have it work out.
Lots of people use something called a door to go in and out of their houses. Anyway, I came by to pick up Toadstool since she's a bit late.
It's kind of close to a Toad voice, I guess.
Bye!
Oh yeah, I can take a nap. Like how Mario just flops face down in the bed. Like, you can't tell me that none of you have done that before. Just full on face plant into the bed. Sometimes it feels really nice to get home from a long day of work and just like dive headfirst into the bed.
Hi! I thought the princess was here with you, Mario! So where is she?
Oh god. What's this with the silent treatment? You're not telling me something. It's Bowser again, isn't it? Oh no, here we go again. Mario, would you please bring her back like you always do? Oh yeah, it's also like pseudo overworlds in certain areas too. So it's kind of overworld style like Super Mario World and some of the other Mario games where you'll choose the individual levels, but they're all kind of interconnected, and a lot of the levels are actually really big and really expansive. Halt! Who goes there? A trespasser! This castle now belongs to us, the Smithy Gang! It's our first step towards taking over this world. And if it weren't for nosy characters like you, we'd practically own this world. So let's see you deal with this! Oh no! He's jabber-jawing me away! There's just such an interesting cast of characters in this game. And it's so unique compared to a lot of the other typical Mario plot lines that I really respect it and I really enjoy it. I just love it so much. Back so soon. Did you forget something? No? What happened then? The bridge to Bowser's Keep is out now. See what I mean? Like, he'll physically act out the different things, since he doesn't actually talk. And the other characters will usually understand him. I think every once in a while they won't, for like comedic effect, or they'll like misunderstand him. But it's a nice way of kind of keeping up with established Mario canon up to this point. Alright, let's go talk to the Chancellor. Ah! Oops, excuse me. Oh, that bump on your head reduced your HP level. One of Mushroom Kingdom's famous items ought to perk you right up. I got a mushroom. Of course I do. Oh, I see. You're just so well-traveled and experienced, Mario. Now, why did I rush back? I had something to tell you. Heck! I remember! Came to warn you that the Mushroom Way is swarming with monsters. Just barely made it back here in one piece. Mario, please do something. Perhaps I can help. You want to know about timed hits? I do know about them. Hey, you better watch out. He knows about timed hits. He's gonna punch your lights out. He's got more bark than bite, huh? Now why did I rush back? I had something to tell you. That's right. We need to tell the Chancellor about Toadstool. I'll see you over at Mushroom Kingdom. Just in case, take these with you. Got 3 mushrooms. Excellent. Alright, I guess we'll get to Mushroom Kingdom and I'll probably call it a night there. So, while I'm going through this, I might as well start the wrap-up section of the stream. And I guess the first way to do that is to start with my top 3 Super Nintendo video games. So, it's probably not a surprise to any of you watching, but number 1 out of my top 3 is gonna be this game right here, Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars. Out of all the Super Nintendo games I've played, and part of this might be nostalgia glasses, but out of all the Super Nintendo games I've played, I do want to say this is probably my number 1 favorite SNES game. I'm sure there's a bunch other games in the library that I haven't gotten a chance to play, but I still think even despite that, I can pretty safely say that this is probably going to always be my favorite Super Nintendo game. Just because of how big a part it played in my childhood, and how it introduced me to an entirely new genre of gaming. Whereas before I really played this, I didn't know anything about RPGs for the most part. I mostly played stuff like Super Mario World, where it's like very limited storyline, very much more focused on just platforming and various challenges of that sort. So I have this game a lot. I owe this game a lot when it comes to opening my eyes to the different types of genres that are available to me as a gamer in general. So this is definitely number 1 out of my top 3. I want to say number 2, taking a little bit of a detour from the whole RPG genre, is actually a beat-em-up. And that beat-em-up is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time, the arcade port. because I have a lot of fond memories of that one. One, I've always liked beat 'em up games as a genre in general. But two, I have a lot of really fond memories of playing that and trying to see how far me and my sister could get through all the levels. Especially because I played some of it in the arcade as well, but then being able to have that experience at home and still share it with one of my siblings, I don't know, there's just something special about that, you know? So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time is gonna be my second game out of the top 3. For my third game, I mean, I could say Super Mario World. I feel like that's a pretty common one. And I kind of want to try to stray away from... I kind of want to stray away from choosing games that most other people would choose for their top... like, for their top games for the system. I feel like Super Mario World is like a very commonly chosen example of favorite game for Super Nintendo. Like up there with like Mega Man X and Super Metroid, and they're all great games. But I'm really trying to think about... Oh, hi Toad. You having fun up there? Really trying to think of a game that's a little less mainstream. And I know both the other games I've... like, this one and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time are not, like, super out of the mainstream. So... it's not really a necessity, I guess, but I feel like Super Mario World is a little too predictable, even if it was the very first Super Nintendo game I ever played. So, I think for my third top favorite Super Nintendo game, man, this is really difficult. I should have put more thought into this before I started the stream, honestly. This is Link to the Past 2, which I haven't played tonight. And I did really enjoy that one as well. But that's another one of those kind of more mainstream games that pretty much everybody knows about, everybody talks about. Everybody has that on a list of, like, top Super Nintendo games. I might go with Cybernator. I don't know if that really... I enjoy it, but I don't know if that belongs in my top 3, though. As much as I do have a fun time with it. I would say Earthbound, because I'm sure I'll love that game, but seeing as I've never actually played it completely all the way through, I've played little bits of it, and I enjoyed what I played. Seeing as I've never actually completed it, or even come close to completing it, I don't feel like I can really make that judgment and be like, yes, this is one of my top favorite games. I'm trying to think of other games I used to play all the time as a kid. Huh. Super Street Fighter is pretty good too, honestly. So yeah, I think for number 3... every time I think of a new game that I want to say, it ends up being a Nintendo 64 game. And I'm like, it's not the episode we're on. So... I guess I'm just gonna have to go with, you know what? Screw it. Mickey Mania. I'm gonna go with Mickey Mania for my number 3. I haven't played it in a while, so I don't know if it'll actually really live up to my memory. But, Mickey Mania was another one of my favorites as a kid. And I feel like I would still enjoy it if I played it now. I still don't know if it necessarily belongs to my top 3. If it weren't for my whole rule about trying to keep the games that everybody's talked about to a minimum off of my top 3, I would probably go with Super Mario World or... even like Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, or Link to the Past, one of those other well-known games. But I think Mickey Mania is a little less known. I don't know if a lot of people have necessarily played it as much as some of the other ones. But it basically... it's a platformer that stars Mickey Mouse and goes through... each level is a different era of Mickey's history. So, like, it starts off on Steamboat Willie, and then it goes through to some haunted house thing, and then kind of just keeps going through all the different eras that Mickey Mouse has gone through over the years. And I remember playing a lot of it as a kid. So I think for the sake of choosing one that's a little less well-known for my final top 3, I'm gonna have my final top 3 be number 1, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Number 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. And number 3, Mickey Mania, the timeless adventures of Mickey Mouse. So, that's my top 3. You guys should let me know down in the comments below what your favorite Super Nintendo games are. And you should also make sure you go to the description so you can go and vote on what games you want me to play for Sony PlayStation 1 tomorrow. That'll be tomorrow around between like 5 and 6 p.m. depending on where life takes me. And that's 5. Oh, I'm dead. That wasn't supposed to happen. But that seems like as good a place as any to stop. So, yeah. Tomorrow's Sony PlayStation stream will be between anywhere from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. There's the survey in the description that you can go place your votes if there's any specific PlayStation games you want to see me play. You guys have heard my top 3 Super Nintendo games. So make sure to comment yours down below. Or at them at me on Twitter. Let me know what kind of memories you guys have with the system and with any games. Any nostalgic kind of memories, personal history, stories, things like that. I always enjoy hearing about other people's stories instead of just telling my own. Because it's kind of like, it really is like a shared experience, having grown up with the same system and some of the same games, and doing a lot of the same kind of things as kids. So make sure you comment your favorite 3 games for the Super Nintendo, some of your favorite stories or memories with the system, or specific games on the system. Vote to let me know what games you want to see me play for Sony PlayStation tomorrow night. And I think that's everything. Honestly, revisiting the Super Nintendo, I feel like it has definitely held up over the years. I feel like, especially in some of the games, which a lot of the games that we played weren't too bad when it comes to like graphics and stuff. I feel like some of the graphics on certain games, especially less well-known games, haven't necessarily aged as well, but especially just compared to the Atari, the original Nintendo Entertainment System, and some of the older systems like that, the Super Nintendo definitely has a leg up on them in that the graphics have aged a lot better. The color schemes have aged a lot better. I feel like by this point, Nintendo really had a better grasp on what they were doing when it came to programming games, when it came to design in both music and visual, and like audio in general. And yeah, I feel like a lot of the games also have increased in their amount of, like, the amount of gameplay they offer and how satisfying that gameplay is. I feel like they really nailed the controller as well. It fits well in your hands, even now, as a grown-up. It still fits very comfortably in my hands, and honestly, yeah, I'd still play the hell out of this system today, and I still do, honestly. Not as much as some of the other ones, but I feel like if you're interested in collecting retro games, definitely give the Super Nintendo Classic a try. But if you can find an actual Super Nintendo entertainment system, the actual hardware, and some of the game cartridges for cheap, I definitely recommend trying to pick it up, because it's definitely a good little system, and definitely lives up to Nintendo's reputation in terms of fun gameplay and just very well designed games in general. So, on that note, I hope you all have a great night. Thank you guys for joining in. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. So, I will catch you tomorrow night around 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll play some Sony PlayStation and see just what Nintendo missed out on when they decided to not continue working with Sony to create the Nintendo PlayStation attachment for the Super Nintendo. So, with that, goodbye! I suck at ending these things. So, I'll catch you guys later. Good night.